Hi guys, welcome to this video. I'm literally so excited to be finally filming a chatty YouTube video, catching up, and I've never used MacBook photo booth before. Obviously, I've seen everyone use these like really cute hearts. But I just thought, let me film on it. It's kind of giving FaceTime energy. So, hi, I'm in Shanghai. Ah, I literally moved country. Hello, hi. I gotta show the love to the YouTube, give the time capsule to my future self, as always. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up my phone because I've got a lot of course, dates and things like that. I got the receipts. So I flew to Shanghai on the 6th of September. I think that it was from like Gatwick, if I'm remembering correctly. And because of the flight difference and the time difference, I arrived in Shanghai on the 7th, which was a Saturday. It was morning time, super sunny, super, super gorgeous. And I was, I didn't sleep on the flight, but obviously because of the adrenaline, I was like in the taxi on the way from the airport to the hotel that the company books us. And I was like, oh my God, this is like so crazy. I'm literally in China right now. I am obsessed. And when I arrived though, I was like really, really first of all hungry, so I was like, hey, like, is the hotel breakfast open? And they were like, yes, and sorted that out. As soon as I ate, went back to my hotel room, slept, set my alarm for some time in the early afternoon because I was like, okay, that's like let's try like to have a good sleep schedule. And obviously, I'm like one day in and I haven't slept on the plane. But I was like, let's not first fumble the bag. And when my alarm went off, I was fighting for my life. It was actually the worst jet lag I've ever experienced. Fell straight back asleep. I did fumble the bag for my jet lag the first few days, but that's okay. But yeah, let me give a really brief rundown, fill you guys in. Obviously, it's literally been like a roller coaster. So I'm going to give you the briefest overview and set the context for present day, which, oh my God, it just turned midnight. So I was like, oh, wait, it's technically the night of Monday, 4th of November, but it just turned to Tuesday, 5th of November. Love that. Um, Okay, so got into the hotel and training started pretty quickly. I think we had like maybe 3 days in the hotel, or at least I did. I had 3 days in the hotel before I started training. It was regional training, so it was somewhere very like central in Shanghai. And that was fun in itself because I could go and I was like, oh my God, like I'm in Shanghai. And it was like very, very like central. The headquarters is near like Jing'an Temple. So I was like, and that's like beautiful. Like literally just like Google photos and you will see. So that was really cool. And there was just like it was giving city. It was like big billboards, like beautiful, tall, like buildings. And that was where obviously I'd met a lot of people who we're also working with EF, also being teachers, which is so funny to say because I'm like, oh, I'm literally cosplaying as a teacher, like not me being a teacher. But yeah, so that was really fun. That was like the intro, like more like general stuff, I guess. But it was really good. Like all of us were really jet lagged. There were mostly people, there was others from UK, America. There was also like some people from South Africa. I don't think in my training, but like in a lot of other people that I met. And so that was really good. And that kind of started to be like, okay, we're really here. Like we're becoming teachers, we're getting the training. That I think was about a week and a half. And then I moved to go to my like specific center and the school that I am working at. And that was super cool because training did continue, but obviously it was like more specific and it was like the people at my school, like my current colleagues who were training me, and that was really nice. And then this is when like the reality really, really set in when we started, sorry, I, me and my multiple personalities, when I started observing some of the classes. And so I just like sit in, watch, and oh my goodness, these kids were like the cutest and the funniest. And some of them are like crazy, but honestly, I was just so entertained. And obviously, I'd be like taking notes from like the teacher, what activities they did, inspiration for what I can also use in my lessons. But it was just so, so cool because I was like, wait, I'm actually going to be teaching like little kids English. Love that. And I love kids so much. Like, they're so adorable. And also because so I studied joint maths and psychology at university. And the psychology part, I'm just like so fascinated, like the way that they interact with each other and like their personalities. I'm like, you guys are like so cool and smart as well. So clever, so clever. So I had the observations, and then from the observations, it then shifts to starting to do team teach. So, for example, you have a main teacher, say they have like a 2 hour lesson, and then I would do like maybe a 20-minute section of it, and I did an activity. And of course, for the first one, I was like, oh my God, like, what's it gonna be like? And just a breakdown. So, ages, I think it's like 3 to 6. I might be getting this like kind of wrong, but like 3 to 6, we call them bright sparks, which when I entered, I was like, what do you mean you're teaching bright sparks? Like, that's so cute. 3 to 6 was bright sparks. 6 to maybe 9 or 10 is called high flyers. Again, these might be getting like so murky, but you'll get the idea. High flyers, so cute. And then 10 to maybe like 14 is trailblazers. Again, so cute. And then the like latest, oldest age band, maybe 14 to like, I think it goes up to 18. They're called front runners, which all these names, I'm like, wait, be so for real right now. That is so funny and cute. I love it. And so my first class was with high flyers. So obviously they were at age where they like could understand quite a lot of English at this point. But still like obviously very sweet, very cute. And I was teaching like sea animals, and I was doing like gestures to like remember the sea animals, and we played some activities as well, which was really, really cute and fun. And I was like, oh my God, like, and they were like, oh, teacher is a foreigner, because of my British accent. So that was quite funny. After a few more team teachers and trainings, like building up, I started my first solo lessons. And let me tell you, in this job, there is never a dull day. There's never a dull day. And probably a side note that's like important to know is we teach the kids outside of their school hours, normal school hours. So our job is not a 9 to 5. It's obviously we still get like it's the same working amount of hours, 40-hour work week. Um, but my weekends are Tuesday and Wednesday. Hence why I'm here on a Monday night. Otherwise, I would be in my grandma era, tucked into bed, trying to get to sleep. And it is 17 past midnight right now. Um, but yes, so my weekends are Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on the weekdays, so for me, Monday, Thursday, Friday, we work 1:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So, and it really works well with me because I feel like obviously I can have like the first part of the day, work on what I want to work on, do what I want to do, which a lot of the times in my first few weeks has definitely been just trying to like catch up on sleep, but that's also a very important thing. And then yes, 1:30 to 8:30, but not all of it is teaching. It's a lot of it is like lesson planning, admin, marking, like that type of thing. Not me being a teacher. And then weekends is when we are the most busy because that is of course when the students are off school and so they learn English. And we work on Saturdays, Sundays, it is 8:45 to 6. And when I say it is the busiest, of course, that's when we have the most lessons. So a lot of the times, if throughout the week we're having a bit more like chill days, like usually my Thursdays, I don't have any classes. So I just like lesson plan, like admin, catch up on things on that day. And then the rest of like the other days is like preparing for the weekend. We still do have time on the weekend, but that's like the busiest in terms of lessons. And yeah, so that's the working hours. And then by this point, So I keep track of my lessons. I like when I write the lesson plan, I'll do like, oh, lesson like 16. Today, so obviously I had work today, 1:30 to 8:30. Guys, I literally got my notes here ready for this video to talk about and remind me of the lessons. But I just taught my 43rd lesson. It's not even giving cosplay anymore. It's giving I'm an actual teacher teaching these kids English in their formative years. It's actually crazy. Okay, so I thought I would give like a little story time, I guess, of some of the recent days I've had. And yeah, so I have some of the lesson plans here, and I also took pictures of what was on my schedule so I could remind myself what the classes were. So I'll start from, because as I mentioned, Thursdays I don't have classes. I'll start from Fridays. So Fridays, again, 1:30 to 8:30. We just had like a little teacher meeting at the start, and then I had quite a lot of lesson planning time. And actually, the first thing that I had was a demo, but sometimes for the demos, it's like sometimes you could like not have it because maybe the students cancel or like that type of thing. But I'm already on demos, and I'm literally haven't even been here for like 2 months, but they saw me and they were like, we'd love you to have you for demos, like let's get you trained. I observed some. It's basically when the students and their parents come in for like a trial lesson and to see if they want to like buy the course and like come and join the school. So I feel like because I'm like grew up a performer and like have done a lot of stuff at uni and school, which is very like parent customer facing like type of things, and I guess I'm very energetic, so I feel like they were like, yes, do you want to do demos? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And they are super fun, but each time it's like a huge mix of students, and they are most popular. Usually I have them on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and they are 40-ish minutes. But on Friday, my demo, it got cancelled because there were like the students cancelled or like whatever. So I was like, okay, great, got more admin time, more chill time. And then I just had one class at 7:30 to 8:30. So this was a Bright Sparks 2 class, and they are absolutely hilarious. So I'm like flicking through my notes for the lesson plan of this class. And I observed this class before, and I was like, not them being so silly and goofy. And like they will make like little like smart comments. And obviously, so my parents are Chinese. I was born and raised in London, but my parents moved from China. So I do understand Chinese and I can speak it. So sometimes when the students are saying like really, really like kind of cheeky things, I'm like, oh, I see you. This is an example of a lesson plan, by the way. I've got like I write, obviously there's like the time, notes, da 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 da. I like digest. We have like teacher notes that are like pre-prepared. I just like digest it, write it in my own form, and then I do like the main things in red. So yeah, this lesson plan. Okay, yeah, okay, I remember this now. So we were learning numbers from 11 to 20 as part of it, and we also had learning about toys. So usually there's like vocab topic, and then there's like phonics. Like it's normally two main sections of like the Bright Sparks lessons, which is like 3 to 6. So they're really, really, really young. But I observed this class before, and I remember there's this one little boy who's like clearly the youngest and the smallest out of all of them, but he's like very, very strong and very clever. And when I did my first, I think, team teach, he actually remembered me. And whenever he saw me in the corridor, he went, like, made sure I was making eye contact. He, like, made sure to look at me, waited for me to make eye contact, and was like, hello, Maggie. And I was like, oh my God. Not him only remembering my name, but saying with such, like, warmth and enthusiasm. I was like, I'm obsessed. So, obviously, a couple days later, when I heard that I was, like, gonna teach this class, I was like, oh, so cute. So that was my warm welcome. One of the students remembered my name. I was like, oh, I'm obsessed. So we drilled the vocab. We have this game, which is like a monster card game. I copied this from like one of the teachers that I observed. I was like, love this game. all it is we have flashcards, right? So we're like putting them one by one. We're like, oh, what is it? Like drilling the vocab. And let's say it's toys. So it's like doll, robot, ball, car. Um, and then you have one flashcard, which is like a picture of like a little like cartoon monster. And you tell them when the monster comes, you have to close your eyes. And like all the kids are like, ah, like they're so cute. They're so funny. And this game, I've like obviously seen it demonstrated. It worked really, really well. And it's always so funny because obviously it's just a card, but it's just the energy that you give it. So you're like, ah, it's a monster. And if like some kids aren't closing their eyes, then you can like put it in front of them and be like, rah. So it's always really, really fun because it gets them also to like drill the vocab. For some reason, it just like works so well for their brain. Like they just love it. It's literally like crack to them. They're like, okay, doll, car, boat. And then it's the monster one. It's like, ah. Okay. And one kid literally like he escaped the matrix in this moment. He literally said in Chinese. It wasn't even in a rude way. He was just like, but this is like just a card. Like, why should we be scared of a card, right? And I was like, oh my God, that is so funny. And all the other kids were still like, ha ha ha, but they were just like, I want to play the game. Um, so that was really funny. I was like, not him literally becoming sentient in this moment. And then we did the like counting game. So I got them to like, I lined up the flashcards and we counted to 10 together. And then the two pairs who were like standing and it was their turn, they counted like 11, 12, 13 and like jumped across. So that was so cute. And let me see what else I remember from this class. Oh, I played the team games. They eat it up. If a class is like maybe not being that focused and they're being a bit like la 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 la, there's like we have refocusing techniques, but at the same time, get them to do a team game and it's game on. They're like so competitive. They're literally like, oh my, they're like locked in. And I can't even remember what this team game was for, but they loved it. They literally ate it up. So yeah, that's that class. That was my Friday, 7:30 to 8:30 to end the day. So now we get to the weekend. The weekend was the busy one. I think Saturday was my busiest day for this week that I just had. So let me give you a rundown of the schedule. I had 10 a.m. So we started at 8:45, 10 a.m. to 12:15. We get a 15-minute break between the 2-hour class as well. So it'd be like 10 to 11, 15 minutes, 11:15 to 12:15. And then I had a mini break, 45 minutes. And then it was 1 p.m. to 3:15, so another 2-hour class, both of them being high flyers. And then I had a demo class, which was on this time, 4 to 5. And then I had a storytellers class, which is like, they're like the youngest, I think they're like 3, and it was like storytellers 0. So there's like 0, 1, 2. Like we on 0, guys. Like don't even know the concept of another language, let alone any English words. Some of them didn't even know their own names. Anyway, so that was 5 to 6. Okay, so the first class. This was a high flyers D class, so they're just like A, B, C, D all the way up to, I don't know yet, whoopsies. Need to improve at my understanding of the job. Maybe J, I think. I'm not sure. But let me literally get the notes for this. So I was actually covering someone's class for this one here. One of the teachers was on annual leave. So I just covered her class and they were crazy. So even going into the class, and I think I've only had this happen with one other class and it wasn't as like extreme, I guess. So obviously I go in and they're like, oh my God, it's a new teacher. I'm like, hi everyone, like, you know, like your usual teacher is ill, like da 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 da, or like whatever. And I'm just saying like, hi, I'm Maggie, like hi everyone, da 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 da, doing the intro. And so obviously they like understand I'm a new teacher and they're old enough also, like their English is like actually all right. But then they switched to Chinese because some of the students came a little late. I can't remember how many students in this class. I think it was like around 12. And most of the students were there. This one student walks in and they're like, teacher, this one's a naughty one, like in Chinese to me. They're like, this one's a naughty one, this one's a naughty one. Like, I'm like, okay, not not the warning. I was like, hey, settle down. Like, okay, you sit down, blah, blah, blah. Another student walks in. They're like, this one's really shy. Like, they're literally giving me a student profile of everyone. And they were right. Like, boy, were they right about each of these. Like, they knew who to like watch out for. Um, they were like, this one's shy, but I was like, don't put people in boxes, guys. At our ripe age of, I think you guys are like 7. And then this other kid walks in and they were like, this one's also a naughty one, teacher. Like, they're literally giving me a rundown. And as I mentioned, they were correct. There was 2 students who, honestly, I've learned that you can have a class of 10 really well behaved, like students who will produce, will listen, like when you say like, okay, sit nicely, like they will be refocused. And it only takes one. It really only takes one. We usually have a TA, teaching assistant, to help us like with behavior. But sometimes if we're low on TA because they're like university students and it just depends on like their availability as well. Anyway, it gets pretty interesting. I literally feel like I'm training myself for when I become a future mother. Because some of these kids, I'm like, that guys, like this is a little bit crazy. Um, so I get this pre-warning, we're playing the games. Let me see like what even was the topic. This was my high flyers, high flyers teacher notes. And yeah, they do like bookwork. They were playing some games. Oh, I did like a team game and they were like unscrambling things. Like that worked pretty well. The team games I've learned, they're pretty good. They get a bit chaotic sometimes because they're like, but it gets good because they're like so locked into actually learning and also it gets them engaged. But what even was this topic? Beep bop, beep bop. The way that I'm like, I don't even know because I just say like, oh, slide 2 of like the relevant unit. Anyway, can't remember what that one was about, but the 2 students were indeed naughty. And you know what? First half, they were like, okay. I think like a lot of these students is just giving like, obviously not in a bad way, but it's just giving like, oh, clear signs of like ADHD. So then it's like every moment, it's like they're like getting up from their seat, they're shouting out, they're like looking at that thing over there, they're trying to climb under the table the second that I look away. I'm like, Jesus, like this is kind of crazy. Anyway, so that was a class I covered. And then I had my own class, which was actually the very first one that I did for a team teach. And so this class has a special place in my heart because they were just like the first class that I ever did any teaching for, even though of course the first one was like 20 minutes. So they were learning about exercises. And I feel like a thing that I remember from this class is part of the high flyers is that sometimes they have chants. So in Bright Spots, they'll have like different songs to like help them like with the language. And then with high flyers, it's like you've got like chants, which are a bit more like to a certain beat and like using a lot more vocab. And sometimes I feel like high flyers, especially the late high flyers, they're kind of getting to the age where they're like, oh, like I'm a bit too cool for this, like, you know, like da 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 da. And so the way that I got them to the chant, again, surprise, surprise, was like a team competition. So I said, whoever can sing the loudest, whoever has the best pronunciation, and also if you can do the moves for it, because we were learning about exercises. So, for example, like squats and like press ups and like sit ups, if you can do like the action for it. And this girl, I remember, she was at first, she was the most being like, and the most vocal, being like, oh my God, like, teacher, don't make us do this. And when I said about the gestures as well, she was like, oh, like, can't be bothered. And then as soon as I made it into like a game where I was like, each student can have a maximum of up to 3 points. And I split the teams and they sat like opposite each other because they were doing like a back and forth chant, like, you know, line 1, line 2, and then like, you know, replying to each other. They got so into it. Oh my God. I think this class had like 7 students. And the girl who was the most sassy, being like, teacher, don't make me do this. She was literally getting on the floor doing her push-ups. She was like putting in the work. She was like, let me do this and put my back into it. And it was so funny because like the chant as well was also like kind of silly and entertaining. So them talking back and forth, I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. So yeah, that was about exercises. And then I love that like this is still Saturday. Oh, demo. There was one student and he was a little bit shy, and then he shifted from shy to being a bit crazy. So he was running about, but you know what? The demos are fun. Like meeting these different students, and it's a new challenge, of course, but it keeps it interesting. And I like that each time it's like the same set lesson. So there's more of a focus on like trying to gauge like the students individually and like how to navigate their like personalities and their attitude to learning. Sometimes you just like my first demo, I had 7 students, and actually it was like good vibes. Like obviously not everyone was like an angel, but it was like good enough vibes, and like there was enough students who were also like a bit silly, so it was like kind of like comic relief vibes as well. So that was cute. So yeah, this one though only had one student, and it was okay. Like, and he was cute, so it's okay. And then I had storyteller 0, and I think there was like 4 or 5 students. One of the students was really strong, and she was like able, she like knew what was up. Oh yeah, sorry, let me explain. Storytellers. I literally have this class called Storytellers. I am the one who is responsible for teaching these kids the OG rhymes. Oh my goodness, it's literally like Baba Black Sheep, Hickory Dickory Dock, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Not me teaching the classics to these kids, and they're so like British as well, where I'm like, that's so cute. Um, but yeah, the classics. But the first lesson was this one that I've never heard of before. It was called Jack Be Nimble. And the thing is, it was a very easy rhyme, but it was very quick, like in the video. So it was literally like, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, jump, Jack jump over the candlestick. See, it's like it was a bit of a tongue twister, and it was really quick. And I was like, I've never even heard this before. These kids don't even know their own names in English. How are they supposed to literally sing this on what sounds like 2 times speed? But we tried. So you start with like the vocab and you do like different activities. And obviously I'm doing some drilling, and then I did some activities where like for example you might have them like laid out on the floor and you have like hoops, and I'm like, teacher Maggie says Jack, and then you like put the one where it's like Jack, so they're like drilling it, trying to get them to produce the language. But literally, I'm not gonna lie, this class just like they could copy everything that I said. Like if I said it, they can just like echo it back to me. But if I'm asking them a question, or if I'm like let's say I did like, oh, K says k, and then I do this gesture, I'd be like k k k. We did it like a countless amount of times, and then after the 67th time, I was like, K says. So I'd wait for them to see if you would follow with k k k. I was like, okay, they haven't, so let me do the gesture. Silence. Silence. This class, I was like, you know what? Thank God you guys are cute, because right now, is anyone home? But it's okay. Like they're really, really young. But it's funny because it's always like a mix of students. Like I have this other class who's like angel class, really young, but like they're just so like locked in. Like they're there, they took the red pill, they're awake, they're sentient. Okay, anyway, so that was storytellers. It was interesting. And then Sunday, I have a BS0 class, which is literally 2.5 year olds. At this point, I'm babysitting. They are so cute, and they actually have very distinct personalities. I currently have that class has 4 students. It's quite small, just because also like they're so small. Beginning, it was all about just trying to get them to stay in the lesson and not cry and like want their parents. Some of the parents did stay. It was a whole thing. But we're a couple lessons in. We're maybe 4 or 5 weeks in, roughly. Roughly. I can't remember. And I think 4. And one kid, Angel, produces, copies, doesn't usually cry. Sometimes she's like, when is my mum and dad gonna pick me up? But it's okay. Other kid, really like, as soon as she enters the classroom and her brain like connects the dots that it's gonna be like an English class, she's like, ah! And then she like bursts into tears and she's like super clingy. And I think she's had her parents stay in like every lesson, but that's okay. Like, we've all been there. And then, God forbid, also, side note, none of these kids will ever like, any kid that's like maybe a bit naughty is only karma returning to me in the form that I was as a child. I was like a crazy child, like genuinely would literally scream and cry all the time. I was sassy. My mom always said like when it was class as well, I would always like be that kid to like shout out the answer and like not let other kids, like I was that annoying kid that was like actually. Anyway, so I'm like, it's okay, like I'm rich coming from me talking about these kids because I was so naughty. Anyway, so yeah, this other kid, she's crying, and then kid number three, he literally gives me a death stare. He like gets, let me try get in the mode. He's like gets so angry. He's literally like, I can't even do it, like how intense he does it. Like, he's glaring at me as if I have just stolen his favorite teddy bear. And honestly, but it always shifts like this. And he loves the stickers. So like our method would literally just be like give him the stickers. And then it just shifts from like he's really like shy, like not shy, he just like is looking grumpy and angry and doesn't want to say anything, to then shifting being like crazy. Like first lesson when he did this shift, he literally flipped a chair at one point. I was like, oh, okay. And then was like running up to the projector, like switching off the TV. I was like, oh my God. And even the other kid was like, girl, like, what are you doing? And the other kid, she's sweet, like she's like quite quiet, but she like sometimes produces. So we love that for her. She's like speaking some English. So that was cute. And they love coloring, this class. They love coloring. Every lesson they ask me in Chinese, they're like, teacher, are we doing coloring today? Are we doing coloring? And the last lesson I had, the one angel kid who I'm always like, I can count on her. Like, she eats every time. But for some reason today, she was a little bit like looking away, and she was like, she was like, when I'm wondering when my mum and dad are gonna come. And then finally, so sometimes she was like producing some language. Finally, when we got the coloring book out, she was literally, her face lit up. She was like, oh my God. And I got this cool one where it was like an A4 sheet and it's divided into like 8, and you like fold it and you like and it turns into this little like book, and it's so cute. So you like have it A4, you like color it in, and then you fold them. So I like pre-folded them, and I had one to show. I'm like, here's one I made earlier. I'm like, okay, everyone, like we're gonna do coloring now. And I'm like showing them, and I'm showing them, and they were like, oh, they were like locked in. And all of them in Chinese were like, oh my God, like I want, teacher, I want. I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. So we sat, we colored, they were locked in. I got them to produce like some of the, I think the topic was actually also toys for this one. Yeah, toys. So we did that. That was very cute. I had a phonics lesson next. And this was, sorry, I just realized like this video is literally so long, but love that for me. We had a phonics lesson. I was expecting 5. This was a new class. We actually had 11. It was crazy. But this class, I'm so glad, thank the Lord, their behavior was great. And there were some which were a little bit like fidgety and that type of thing, but that's to be expected. Overall, very good class. I love this though. It's kind of like the ones that are well behaved, love them, but not as many story times, guys. Like, come on, like put in a shift. I'm joking. Please don't. I need the peace. I need the peace. But that was very fun. And though there was this one kid that was like a lot older than the others, and I was like, are you supposed to be here? Like, I don't know. Like, you're so much like larger than everyone else. Like, I'm literally like, whoa, like this other kid's like here, and then you're like here, like damn. But no, it was cute, and we played some team games as well. They were locked in. And it was sweet as well because some points when we were doing the book work, I think some of the students who were a bit weaker, they were kind of struggling, but that's okay. We all be on the struggle bus sometimes. We choose our strengths and weaknesses, but basically, sorry, not we choose. We don't choose our strengths and weaknesses. Anyway, you get the vision. And then other students were literally helping her out, and I was like, oh, that's actually really sweet, guys. I had a demo. The demo was three very shy students, but that's okay. By the end of it, some of them were producing. Reward for the most improved. And then that was the end of my day. And that brings us to today, Monday. I had two classes today, just 1 hour each. First one was a class where all the students are very good, and then there is one who is extremely naughty, like screaming, running up to the board, rolling on the floor. Any opportunity, not even opportunity, like there's no opportunity, there's nothing that has happened, and she's like finding, you know what? It's inspirational. She creates something out of nothing. Every single time she's screaming, I'm like, what is going on? And also, she does this thing where, like, literally, she starts like playing with her clothes and then she's like tugging at the clothes to the point where it's like coming off her and she's like putting up her shirt. I've literally seen this girl's nips. Okay, she's 3 years old, so it's like obviously more acceptable, but I'm a bit like, girl. And the TA's literally told her, when I've had a TA, normally for this class is no TA, but I have recently been like, hey besties, this class needs a TA. So luckily there was a TA today. It made the worlds of difference. So I'm gonna make it that, make sure like I'm like, hey, like, can this class have a TA? Anyway, so they tell her in Chinese, there are security cameras in here and they can see you. If you show your nips to the wind, it's all going to be on camera. Anyway, so but the rest of the class generally well behaved. There's a lot of personalities in this class. And do you know what? So we're learning about farm animals today. I also gave them a little like foldy sheet and of like farm animals themed. And it's actually on the internet. It's literally just like my mini book of coloring, and then it's like different themes: farm animals, toys, living room. And the thing about this class is like they're good, and then but sometimes they get really excited. And then when we play the games, they love to come so close to me, and they love to like haha, like playfully like touch my arm, like try give me a hug, which obviously like in my non-teacher hat on, I'm like, oh my God, so cute. But like I gotta keep it professional, guys. Like I gotta cosplay as a teacher. And yeah, so basically they we were playing this game where they had to like stand up, and you have to like, one side of the room is like, we're talking about farm animals, so it's like, oh, if you like it, you go to this side of the room and you say, I like cows, let's say. Then this side, I don't like cows, and that's like the whole game. So everyone stands in the middle, and like when they're in the middle, they were coming so close to me, and I was like, guys, like don't go so close. And the TA's like in Chinese, like, don't go so close, like whole thing. But I'm like, at least like they feel comfortable and safe around me, which is very important, and they're happy. Like that's what I love. And obviously we learn our English, not my voice going so croaky. But yeah, so that was very cute. And luckily we had a TA today. So the girl who was crazy was slightly less crazy, and we were able to continue on with the lesson. The last lesson that I have, oh my goodness, after a hectic, chaotic week, whatever happens, I have this class which are my absolute angel class. It's a recent class I've had open. I think I've taught them like 3 lessons now, so 3 weeks. And there's always a co-teacher, so it's normally like international teacher and then local teacher. And let's say we have it on like Mondays and Thursdays, for example. So I've had this class, and I just don't even understand how they are so well behaved. I'm like, something went right, because it's 3 little boys, and when I tell them to sit nicely, they sit nicely straight away. Like maybe their attention might waver for a moment, but they're back, they're locked in, they copy what I say. Obviously, they're very young, so they're like bright sparks too. Most of these classes, most of the ones that I teach are the younger ones, like bright sparks, and then some high flyers. So they just like, I'm so grateful to the universe that my week is just like, whatever happens, like, I always finish with this class. And they're so great. We get so much work done. They're producing. I'm watching them improve as well because they're very like receptive, and like I'm teaching things. I'm like, oh, it's actually working, and I'm watching them progress already, and it's only been like 3 lessons. I'm so proud of them. And they did like a little, normally bright sparks, they don't do this thing that's called let's talk. Normally it's for like high flyers and trailblazers, and they just do like a little presentation of like things that they've learned. And literally last week we did like a little let's talk, and it was talking about like clothing items. And so it was like kind of back and forth. So I'd be like, oh, what is it? It's a cap, it's a sweater. And then I'd be like, oh, um uh is he wearing shoes? I'd be like, yes, he is. It's like, oh, is he wearing jeans? No, he isn't. So they did one of these, and like the TAs, or like the PAs, which is progress advisors, um, they take videos and send it to like the parents. And it was actually such a proud moment. I was like, I taught them this and they learned so well. They're so clever, they're so smart. So I had that class, and it's 3 boys, as I mentioned, super cute and super funny as well. Like, they're clever, they're funny, love them. I'm literally like, you guys help me realign my chakras at the end of the week. It's literally the last lesson that I have on my final day before my weekend, in the very last hour. So it was 7:15 to 8:15. And basically, beep bop, beep bop. Not my brain shutting down because I'm like, oh, it's almost 1 a.m. But um, we had a new student come in. So obviously I was like, and it was a girl, girly pops. And I was like, oh, like, wonder what this new student's gonna be like. Like, obviously it's always just like, you just gotta go and find out. Like, it could be anything. And I was like, obviously we've got 3 angels. Let's see what this new student be like. Another angel. And she does kind of get distracted a little bit, but that's okay. Produces language, repeats what I say, like personality as well. Like, when we were doing the coloring, they were all just like saying the silliest things about like the animals. Like, one of them was like, oh, like, I'm gonna color, like, make this one have like an electric shock, and then literally drew like squiggles around it. And then the girl was like, oh, my sheep is gonna be rainbow colored because it's like a magic sheep. And I was like, that is so cute, girl. Like, we can color how we want to color our animals. It is a free creative world. Um, but yeah, so that literally sums up, because that was today at 8:30. That literally brings us to present day. I came home, I showered, I ate dinner, I sat down and I filmed this YouTube video, and now it is literally 1 a.m. in the morning. I cannot believe I've literally filmed like almost an hour's worth of content. Not me yapping. I literally, like, it's 0 or 100. It's either I'm making a 2/3 minute video, or it's gonna be me yapping for so long. Like, I love how at the beginning as well, I was like, oh my God, like, am I gonna talk for enough? Like, at this point, this is like a literal time capsule story time for future Maggie. Oh, I wasn't even gonna edit this and like cut it that much, but maybe I'll have to. Like, we'll see, we'll see. Or maybe I'll just upload a literal, like, long form, long ass podcast at this point of me yapping. But anyway, thank you for listening to my updates on my Shanghai journey. I definitely want to do more of these. I think that this first one was definitely going to be a bit of a longer one. I need to give you guys the lowdown of what has been happening, set the scene, what has been my life. I definitely feel like, obviously at this point, going up to like however many lessons, 42, I have very much like settled into the flow of the job, and that's where the magic can start to happen. Because also, now that I'm a bit more used to like being in Shanghai, side note, absolutely love it here. So cool. Oh my goodness. Like, my mind is honestly blown. Like, I'm shook. I'm shook. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. Um, super cool, learning a lot. Obviously, it's my cultural roots as well, so I love that. I'm practicing my Mandarin a lot more. I really want to make sure I strengthen my reading writing. And when I say strengthen, I literally mean from like zero, level zero. My listening and speaking is pretty decent. Not me literally stumbling on my words. It's pretty decent. Girl, say it with chest. But my reading and writing, very rusty. I did go to Chinese school and take the GCSE at 15. It was not enough to carry me through this. Like, I cannot read Chinese. Um, so definitely want to strengthen on that. But I don't know, recently, this is definitely for like a future thing, but I'll just like add this tidbit. It's obviously been a roller coaster, like trials and tribulations, highs, lows, all the whole lot. But overall, there's definitely been like a really strong sense of like, this is what I'm meant to be doing for this era of my life. And I feel like this experience, like being here and the job, and also like, of course, living like on my ones, it's like, I feel like so many different things I'm like learning and growing from. So, yeah, I'm really excited. And this is just the beginning. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. It has been an absolute pleasure yapping to my MacBook on photo booth. I'm so glad that my battery didn't run out as well. I mean, it's fine, I could have just charged it, but you see the vision. Oh, also, this is my plushie, and I bought it on my first week after being at my centre, and it was my reward after I did my first team teach. We have a Miniso store right opposite where we work, because I forgot to mention all of the schools are in a shopping mall. So I'm like, oh my God. And the shopping malls here are crazy in Shanghai. They're so cool. Like, honestly, I have a lust for life from like experiencing the things that I have seen in Shanghai. Anyway, but this is my plushie. So goodbye from me and the plushie. Hope you enjoyed. Is there anything else? There's definitely things that I've like missed out and skipped over, but that's okay. We have time in the future to catch up. I am sending so much love. I hope you're having a good day, and thank you for tuning in. Bye.